Well, it looks like today's the day of cleaning everything and making it look brand new. So, along with the heads there, I started taking apart the coil packs on their brackets there. So, you got the brackets all apart. I'm going to go ahead and blast and repaint these. And then I got the actual coils themselves out of these little, like, kind of metal brackets. They have some, like, tension on them, but basically they just wrap around the coil and go into the bracket there. And then, yeah, these need to be blasted and repainted as well. I was just going to buy new coils, but it's like 150 bucks. They didn't even come with these things, so I was like, might as well just take them off and blast them. And then these are the harnesses here, so I need to take all this tape off and retape them up so they look new. And then I don't know if we'll be able to get to this stuff tonight, but this is definitely the goal for this weekend, is to clean out the valve covers here, get them looking brand new on the outside, and then blast those guys along with the timing chain cover and the GTO oil pan that is currently on the engine. So check this out. Right here is what the coil harness looked like. And I took this one, I don't even know if this is driver or passenger side. Took that old electrical tape off, threw some new stuff on. That looks a lot better. Brand new. So we got rid of that old nasty thick tape. Put some new stuff on. I didn't go all the way to the ends because I wanted some flexibility so it can bend down when it goes onto the coil. Not the most exciting thing, but it's a nice little detail and something else to cross off the list there. Well, I got all these brackets off the coils here and just ran them through the wire wheel to get some of the heavy stuff off. I'm gonna go ahead and blast them with all the tin tomorrow. But they're not looking too bad. They're a little bit mangled, like some of the tabs and stuff, but I'll bend that all back, obviously, when I put them back on the coils. The coils cleaned up pretty good. I just ran them through some Scotch-Brite. I'm gonna have to go with some simple green and like a little detail brush, get all the junk out of the fins there, clean them up real nice. And then while I was working on that, my dad went ahead and cleaned up the inside of the valve covers here. These things look brand new now. The reason we're doing this is because tomorrow we're going to go ahead and blast all the tin. So we're going to blast these guys, front cover. We're not going to blast the pan, just because obviously it's an oil pan. You get any sand on the inside or something that runs through the engine, that's no bueno. So we're just going to clean that up. It's not too dirty. There's no corrosion on it, opposed to all the tin on the engine. Now right now, I'm gonna move on to taking the rockers and the springs off so that way we can move on to cleaning the inside of the heads. And one last thing is these coil brackets here have some like urethane kind of, I don't know, ceramic mixture of paint or something. Basically, it was a pain in the butt to get off with the wire wheel. I wouldn't do anything and I had a feeling Sandblaster would struggle to get that off. So I got some aircraft stripper, remover, whatever you want to call it, on there. Hopefully that'll at least soften or loosen it up. Can scrape some of that off before we go ahead and blast them. Well, right now I'm going to go ahead and start working on cleaning up these heads here. So, like I mentioned before, these are the 862 heads. Nothing too crazy, nothing too special, but they will work for exactly what we are going to be doing here. These are not in awful shape. They're not in pristine condition, but hey, that's what you're going to get when the engine has 120, 130,000 miles on it. There's a little bit of carbon on the valves here, nothing too bad. Luckily, the inside of the head here isn't awful. There's a little bit of oil and carbon built up on the rockers, but I'm going to put those in a parts washer. These springs are getting replaced anyway, so that's kind of my whole thing here. I want to get these things looking brand new on the inside and out before we go ahead and start tossing the new parts on this thing. Alright, right now we're starting to tear apart the heads. I'm taking the springs and valves out of the passenger side one right here. We already took them out of the driver's side. My dad's just drilling out all the manifold bolt studs, because I think 4 snapped off on this one. And, oh wait, actually none snapped off on this head. So yeah, after I get the springs off this one will be good to start cleaning up. And after my dad finishes drilling these guys out, we can go ahead and clean them both up. It's been a few hours now. We've just been slowly chipping away at the heads here. I've been working on cleaning them up while Dad has been taking out all the broken studs here, and as you can see, it took us quite a few tries. We're going back and forth trying to figure out how to get them out, and yeah, that was a struggle. Not the most fun, but you can see the difference between the clean one and obviously the dirty one here. It's actually cleaned up pretty well. Nothing too bad, just some Scotch-Brite and brake cleaner to the aluminum, and it got them nice and shiny. So I got a little bit left to do on this guy, and I'll jump over to this guy, power wash them, make sure they're obviously fully clean, and then we can go ahead and move on to blasting all these pieces right here. So we're gonna go ahead and start sandblasting some of this stuff, and I'm pretty excited to get to this, mainly because we're gonna go ahead and try something different. Usually when we sandblast parts, we go ahead and use this guy back in here, this little Harbor Freight blaster, but it's kind of a pain, and it's definitely a two-man job. One man's gotta man the machine, the other one obviously has to blast the parts. So for $20 at Harbor Freight, we picked up this thing, and I'm hoping it does the trick. That little guy, yeah, hopefully this thing rips. We got the compressor back out there. Oh, I gotta bring the valley cover outside because I'm gonna go ahead and test on this piece, get the settings right and the pressure right, make sure it's all good. But yeah, we got all the pieces out here on the tarp with the hose running right outside, and we'll go ahead and start blasting these things. All right, this thing here, this thing actually works. I'm kind of surprised. Check that out though. That looks perfect. Although it did use all, I think it's a 20-ounce hopper up top. Yeah, 20 ounces to basically do that, and I was just testing it on the aluminum here to see how it treats that, but not too shabby. This thing shreds. All right, back to the rest of all this junk. So the old top loader, whatchamacallit, sandblaster here, did the trick, and it actually did pretty solid. I'm happy with this. A lot easier than using the whatever you want to call that one down there, that's for sure. And for 20 bucks, can't beat it, man. Harbor Freight for the win. So the valve covers turned out pretty good. I just mainly wanted to get all the pitting out of there, or not pitting, corrosion from the aluminum. I didn't want to blast it too hard to like cause like a pitting or like a texture on the aluminum. And it actually looks pretty good. I got some like rubber / grease to scrape out of there. It's no problem. The cover here looks pretty solid, although it looks kind of like multicolored. It feels smooth, so I'm happy with that. These turned out sweet. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it pretty much, because if you remember, they had that really hard like enamel or urethane paint on them. So I put some aircraft strip around them last night, scraped it all off, got it down to somewhat bare metal, and then just blasted them. Turned out solid. I'm actually going to go ahead and prime and paint these, I think, tonight. Then the coil little bracket guys here turned out decent. These were pretty rough to begin with, so nothing I can really do about that, but I am going to go with some sandpaper and clean up all the inside, and there's a little bit more rust, but overall not too shabby. Like, yeah, you can see that guy, that's not going to fly, so I'm going to have to get rid of all that before I go ahead and prime and paint these guys. Overall, not too bad. So yeah, this is pretty awesome and wild to see, and we're so close now. I feel like this is every piece minus the injectors and harness, if you want to count the harness for the engine, to get this thing back as an engine, if that makes sense. I got all the gaskets over here. We got front, rear seal, timing chain cover, valve cover, head gaskets, oil pan, water pump, every little miscellaneous gasket you can think of, all in right there. And everything else is right here. So I'll kind of do a quick little once over of all these pieces and parts to end off the video. I'm going to save like the in-depth stuff for when we actually go and put it on the block here and explain kind of what it all is. But we have a GTO pan from, I I can't even think right now, 03/04 GTO, and that'll work because I need that for my steering, so I need the front sump opposed to, you know, the rear sump. Yes, we are going to have to notch the K-member. We have a plan set in place for that I think is pretty solid, that we can knock out easily. Got the window tray and right pickup with it. Obviously, all the freshly sandblasted parts. 102 millimeter throttle body. ICT flat billet valley cover because I don't need knock sensors for the Holly harness I plan on running. We got new LS7 lifters. Right here we got new springs. We got the seals for them right there. We got a sloppy stage 2 cam right there. Coils. LS3 manifolds. These flow actually really well, and they are 2.5 inch at the collector there, or technically not collector, but outlet there. And these are brand new, never been used, so they should hug the block nicely and make it fairly easy to get in the car to start. Been going back and forth if we just should do headers right now or down the road. I don't know. We'll see how much they cost and what the deal with that is. Alternator, obviously, I am going to relocate that, like I mentioned in an earlier video, so it's not up top blocking my beautiful intake. I'm going to mount it down low. I haven't decided if I'm going to buy the bracket or make my own. I'm kind of leaning towards make my own because it's like $150 for the bracket, and it's a little too much just for a bracket. Fresh water pump. Already went over lifters, and of course the piece of resistance. That's beautiful sheet metal intake with the fuel rails that are already through on. So that is all these pieces here, and like I said, this is really cool to see, and I cannot wait to get them on that thing. So that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. We got quite a bit done. I'm pretty excited. We got all those parts laying on the ground there now. Everything's ready to go back on after a few other things get cleaned, like the push rods right here. I got the rockers in here. We'll go ahead and clean all those, and then the next step will be obviously assembling the heads here, putting the new springs and seals in, put the cam in, regasket it all up, slap some paint on it, and start putting all these things to good use here. So one other thing I didn't really explain in the last videos, I had a couple people asking what trans and what harness and kind of what the plan to get it in the car is. So I'll just do a quick summary on that. For transmission, I have a T5 5-speed right. It's tucked underneath here, but yeah, you can see the shifter right here. It's not all just laying, actually it kind of is a mess right now. I'm still trying to solve this, all right? But yeah, got a T5 5-speed. Bell housing for it that should go to the LS is right there. I still need to get the clutch and flywheel for it. Harness, I'm planning on running a Holly Terminator. Still got to figure out which exact system I want to use, and then I think we're gonna do a painless system in the car. Just get rid of all the 50-year-old wiring, because if we're gonna have obviously this thing in here with all that and a brand new Holly harness, last thing I want is 50-year-old wires to burn the car to the ground. That would not be a good thing. And then we're planning on doing a new gas tank. Obviously we're gonna do a pump in the tank. That's kind of the plan right now. All new fuel lines, and then to actually get this thing in the car, it's gonna be a lot of fab work, especially with that transmission and the fact that I haven't seen anyone yet put one of these in an A body without, you know, doing like a full chassis or a different K-member or whatnot. I'm sure it's been done out there. I just haven't seen it firsthand or really any videos exactly showing how to do it. So kind of the plan for right now is over the next few months, gather the rest of the parts. I think within 2.5 weeks, we want to have this engine all assembled. We'll just seal it up, put it in the corner for now, until I get the rest of the parts, like the harness, some of the exhaust pieces, fuel system. What else was I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, once we get all that, we can start tearing into this thing. The goal is to do the swap in 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously the fab work is going to take most of the time, but if this was in a car that had a kit like, I don't know, like a Camaro or Chevelle or something, toss it in a weekend, no problem. So that's kind of what we're leaning towards right now. We got some trips and events planned, but the main focus is to get everything assembled beforehand. That way we can do the swap as soon as possible, because this is my daily driver. So there's kind of a quick rundown. Maybe I'll make a video explaining everything beforehand, although I felt like this was kind of that video, or I'll just film along as we go. My plan is to film everything, try to document it all, and we'll see how it turns out. But I'm excited to get this thing in the car. get it rolling. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. So thank you for watching. Solid progress in this video. See you in the next one.